Angular 6 is a powerful JavaScript framework for building dynamic web applications. It's known for its modularity, which allows developers to break down complex applications into smaller, manageable units called modules. These modules can contain components, services, and other code, making your application organized and maintainable. When an Angular application starts, by default, it loads all its modules at once. This approach is called eager loading. While convenient for small applications, it can lead to performance bottlenecks as your application grows. Imagine a large e-commerce site with numerous sections like products, shopping cart, user account, and more. Loading all these sections at startup, even if the user only needs to access the product catalog, can significantly slow down the initial load time. This is where lazy loading comes in. Lazy loading is a design pattern that defers the loading of non-critical resources until they're actually needed. In the context of Angular, it means loading modules only when the user navigates to the routes associated with them. By implementing lazy loading, we can optimize our Angular applications for faster initial load times and an improved user experience. Users won't have to wait for unnecessary modules to load, resulting in a smoother and more responsive application. Eager loading, while straightforward to implement, can become a significant drawback for larger Angular applications. As your application grows in size and complexity, eagerly loading all modules at startup puts a strain on the browser's resources. Imagine a scenario where your Angular application has several feature modules, each containing a substantial amount of code and assets. With eager loading, every single line of code and every asset from these modules would need to be downloaded and processed by the browser before the user can even see the application. This leads to increased initial load times, especially on slower internet connections or devices with limited processing power. The result? A sluggish user experience. Users are greeted with a blank screen or a loading spinner for an extended period while the browser struggles to load and initialize all the modules. This delay can be frustrating and lead to users abandoning your application altogether. Furthermore, even if a user only interacts with a small portion of your application, they still bear the cost of downloading and parsing code for features they may never use. This unnecessary loading not only impacts the initial load time, but can also affect the overall performance and responsiveness of your application. Lazy loading in Angular offers an elegant solution to performance bottlenecks. It loads modules on demand, only when needed. Split your application into smaller, manageable chunks. These modules load asynchronously when required. Benefits include improved performance and user experience. Section 4. Implementing lazy loading, a step-by-step guide. Implementing lazy loading in your Angular 6 application is a straightforward process. It involves configuring your routes to load modules dynamically when the user navigates to specific paths. Here's a step-by-step guide to get you started. 1. Generate a feature module. Assuming you already have a root module usually, start by generating a new feature module. You can use the Angular CLI for this. Run the command. This command creates a new module named feature and automatically configures a route for it in your. 2. Define components and logic. Within your newly created feature module, define the components, services, and any other logic specific to that feature. This keeps your code organized and modular. 3. Configure lazy loading route. In your file, modify the route configuration for your feature module to enable lazy loading. Instead of directly importing the feature module, use the property. Here's an example. TypeScript const routes. Routes =/ other routes, path, feature, load children, =, import, feature module. Then m =, m.feature module. 4. Build and run. Now when you build and run your application, the feature module will only be loaded when the user navigates to the route. Section 5. Illustrative example, lazy loading a feature module. Imagine an e-commerce app with a product catalog and a shopping cart. We can structure this with two modules, app module and cart module. Load the cart module only when the user navigates to the cart route. This ensures faster initial load times and a smoother user experience.